And Catherine, if you're called roll, please.
Sure. Chairman Ball?
Here.
Vice Chairman Dole?
Here.
Commissioner Schrader? Commissioner Zargoni?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner York?
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner Mandel?
Here.
And Commissioner Salazar Garza.
Here.
Quorum established.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any other public comments that we need to talk about, or are they all specific to agenda items?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andrew Demas with Development Services. At this time, we have no general public comments.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, approval of absences. There are none. We'll pass that one. Item 4, approval of minutes. Does anybody have questions?
Jeremy, this is Dan real quick. I'm getting a bunch of feedback noise. If we're not speaking, can y'all please put your computers on mute, please?
Thank you, Dan. Any other comments on the approval of minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion. Looking for a motion on the approval of minutes.
This is Vice Chairman Dibble. I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
I second it.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to consent, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. Starting with the consent agenda, which is going to be items A and B, we have under new plats, item number 2, Gardendale subdivision, block 10, lots 11F, 13D, and 13E, a final of 6.3 acres. Item number 3, Patrick Gardens, lot 34R, a final of 0.289 acres. Item number 4, Creekway subdivision, block 3, lots 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, a replat of 0.89 acres. Item number 5, Roblex Industrial Subdivision, Unit 3, Block 2, Lots 1 and 2, a final of 5.75 acres. And item number 6, which is a conditional plat. The condition is regarding the UTP amendment that will be heard later on the agenda. But nevertheless, the plat would be conditional at this time. Nemec Town Center, preliminary plat of 26.39 acres. And under plats with a variance, which in this case are a couple of sidewalk waivers, Flower Bluff Gardens, which is item number 7, block 4, lot 15R. Item number 8, Coastal Community Teachers Credit Union, a final of 5.6036 acres. Item number 9 is the associated sidewalk waiver to Coastal Community Teachers Credit Union. Staff is recommending approval on both of these sidewalk waivers. The Technical Review Committee and staff have determined that the plats met all requirements of, minus the conditional one, of course, but met all requirements of the UDC and the Texas Local Government Code and are recommending approval. Moving on to large item B, which is new zoning. At the top, item number 10, there is a request to table this item. I would like to go ahead and continue to read it into the record, and we would have the public hearing. This will save us from having to renotice. So we won't hear the item, but the public hearing, as it's open for all the consent agenda items, will go ahead and cover item number 10, which is case 0121-01 Brazelton Development Company. This is a request at 7601 Yorktown Boulevard from the RS 4.5 single family district and the FR Farm Rural District to the RS 4.5 PUD, which is a planned unit development. Item number 11, which is case 0121-02 Brazelton Development Company Limited. Also at 7201 Yorktown Boulevard. This request is from the FR Farm Rural District to the RS 4.5 District. Single family, staff is recommending approval. Item number 12, 0121-03 Bassam Salmon at 725 Glen Oak Drive. This is a request from the RM1 Multifamily District to the RS 4.5 Single Family District. Staff also recommends approval. That concludes the consent agenda. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to go over them.
Thank you, Andrew. Do any commissioners have any comments for staff at this time? Seeing none, Andrew, can we open the public hearing, please?
Yes, sir. I do not show that we received any public comments on any of these zoning cases nor the plats.
Thank you. At this time, I will close the public hearing. We can entertain any more discussion, or at this time, I would like to table item 10. So I can have a motion to table item 10 at the applicant's request.
This is Michael York. I move that we table item 10.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Michael
Vice
Miller,
Chairman
second.
Dibble. Seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That is tabled. Any other discussion regarding items 2 through 9 and then 11 and 12? If there's no other discussion, I would like a motion for items 2 through 9, 11, and 12.
This Vice Chairman Dibble, I'll make a motion to approve items 2 through 9 and 11 and 12.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Miller, I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item 6 on the agenda, which is C, the new plat with variance. Michael York will be abstaining from items 13 and 14.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Andrew Demas again with Development Services. Just to read into the record first, item 13 and 14, which are related to Padre Island, Corpus Christi, Section E, Block 2, Lot 19R, a final of 7.9 acres, I'm sorry, 0.79 acres, and its associated sidewalk waiver, which is item 14 with the same legal description. What you see on your screen, and we'll quickly go through it, is the related PowerPoint. So as you can see, the general location of the area, the subject property, is at the corner of Leeward and Aruba on North Padre Island. Here is a closer view of the subject property. As you know, this area is common for planned unit developments and townhouse developments. The subject property, as you can see, is on the left-hand side of the screen. The request, of course, is to receive an exemption from constructing a sidewalk. Leeward Drive is a collector street and does have the ability to have bike lanes. So here's a view of the subject property. This is from Aruba. So your subject property would be on your left-hand side, Leeward being the cross street. And here is a view from Leeward. The subject property is on the right-hand side. Another view looking in the opposite direction along Leeward. And here's a view of the plat showing essentially the breakdown between the townhouse development to the north. The project to the left-hand side has also recently been replatted and is also a multifamily development. So there are several factors in favor of supporting the sidewalk waiver. First and foremost, of course, the common trend that we hear is that there are no sidewalks on the island, nor Mustang nor Padre Island have sidewalks constructed. However, items working against the request is, as you know, this is a corner lot. That is where networks start. It is adjacent to several amenities, meaning it is a high tourist traffic area. You have walking paths and bike paths to the beach, as well as how it trails down to Beach Access Road 2A. So this is a busy area, which it would make sense to have safe pedestrian travel as they're traversing a collector road, which does typically indicative of higher speed traffic. So having the walking facility would be the safest thing. And as you can see, there are plat requirements, which this is more of the legalese behind why we require exemptions that have to go forward, or in this case, I should say waivers, the process in which the application goes through the Planning Commission, how Planning Commission must make a determination of either approving with conditions or denying the request for the sidewalk waiver. Now, lastly, of course, based on the information presented, staff is, of course, recommending denial, as we do feel that the sidewalk network would not only begin here, but again, would start the trend of providing that safe facility. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thank you, Andrew. Does Planning Commission have any questions for staff? Comments or? Okay, at this time, I will open the public hearing. Do you have any comments, Andrew?
No, sir, we have not received any comments.
Okay,
Hey,
we'll close.
Jeremy, this
Yes,
is Michael York. I've got some comments from the applicant that he asked me to give to you guys. He's if you don't know, the owner's a doctor, and he said he's not going to be able to make it because COVID's spiking again, and he's at the office until about 7 p.m. doing COVID testing. But I've got some notes that he gave me, and I know this is a little odd because I'm abstaining from this one. So just for the record, I haven't spoken to any of the commissioners about this item, and I'm going to read these comments that I got from the applicant. The first one, Andrew's.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
would you like to forward those to Andrew?
What's the best way to do that? I just got them written down on a Post-it. I talked to him earlier in the day.
Okay.
But I'll just read these off. The first one Andrew mentioned, no sidewalks on the island. That is correct. Andrew also mentioned his next one, that the property is directly adjacent to him. The map, you can't see it, but there's already a constructed development on both sides of him, which don't have sidewalk, as well as across the streets, no sidewalk. But the main thing, and again on sidewalk, he mentioned, well, let me start with his other ones. He wanted me to tell you what he's planning to build here, which is an L-shaped building, with the building being closer to the street with parking in the rear. He plans to have first floor retail with restaurants and bar, property management company, things like that. Maybe a golf cart rental, he said, on the first floor, with the upper floors being condos for rent and possibly a rooftop pool. What he mentioned on the L-shaped building, with it being pushed up against the street, he does plan to have some type of sidewalk there. He wants to have outdoor dining and seating with awnings. He said like the Riverwalk. But he asked that the sidewalk waiver be granted because he didn't want to have to build a sidewalk now before platting, but wanted to make it clear that he does plan to have access within his site, as you know, as part of his development. And his last comment was that if he did have to build a sidewalk now, he thought that it would get damaged during construction. And that's all the notes I have from him.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments from the public, I will close the public hearing at this time. Any other discussion from Planning Commission? If not, I will entertain a motion on items 13 and 14 with Commissioner York abstaining. Do I have a motion to approve the waiver or deny the waiver, or?
This is Vice Chairman Dibble. I'll make a recommendation that we I'm in disagreement with staff's recommendation for denial, so I guess my motion would be to approve a waiver of the sidewalk exemption against staff recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Is there a second? If there's not a second, we will need another motion.
All right, this is Commissioner Miller. I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Obviously, the applicant, you know, one of his final comments was that he's afraid that the improvements will be damaged during construction and that he will have some sort of safe pedestrian pathway during construction. And I think that we've approved before, to defer the public improvements at the time of building permit. Is that, Andrew, is that something that we could do here?
Yes, sir, that's absolutely correct. We do have a deferment agreement process through a letter of credit. There's times also that we've even deferred to site plan stage. So it's not an uncommon practice, because the logical thing is, obviously it wouldn't make sense to install a sidewalk when you're going to have large, heavy commercial traffic or construction vehicles come through and would damage it. So we do absolutely have the process available to push that further down the road.
Okay, can you help me word a motion?
Well, right now we have, I'm sure Buck will jump in, but right now we have a motion on the floor. If it fails to achieve a second, then the motion dies.
Correct. And so at this time, is there a second for Vice Chairman Dibble's motion to deny staff's recommendation of denying the waiver?
Well, just point of order, just to correct, the motion was to approve the waiver.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, seeing no second, we will remove that motion and entertain another motion.
Okay, Andrew, I need your help again.
Well, in this case, the motion would simply be to deny the sidewalk waiver.
Are you wanting to do, I guess, Commissioner, I guess what Andrew explained is we have a process without the waiver to within the code to defer improvements such as sidewalks.
And then that would be addressed at the permit phase?
It would still be addressed at the plating phase. It's just a separate process.
Okay.
He enters into an agreement to build it at a later date within a time period.
And so your motion would be to approve it per staff's recommendation at this time.
Yes. So this is Commissioner Miller. I move to deny the request for waiver from sidewalk construction requirement at this time.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed?
Vice Chairman Dipple opposes.
Thank you, Dan. Motion passes. On to item D. Number 15, urban transportation.
All right, this is Avery Oltmans. Can you guys confirm? I hate these headphones. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can hear you just fine.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, I'm going to have some help on the other end of the slideshow. So without further ado, as the title implies, this is a UTP amendment, rather, to propose the deletion of a segment of what's being called Wildcat Drive from County Road 52 North to an unnamed east to west collector roadway. Please proceed to the next slide. Here is a general site area plan or site area showing the subject road. If you will focus on what is pointed out as Wildcat Drive. This is, of course, an unconstructed road at this time. It's simply farm ground. We're terming it Wildcat Drive because as you proceed north, that road would connect with that main egress-ingress of the high school. Just to the north of Northwest Boulevard, that road, of course, being called Wildcat Drive. So that is the assumption there. And then, of course, the unnamed road is the C1 that runs east-west and passes along the north boundary of the subject area. The subject area being that portion at the north and west corner of County Road 52 and I-69. So as the title suggests, it is the portion of Wildcat Drive from the unnamed road running south to County Road 52, which is being proposed for deletion. A little bit of background, and if I could, please, let's proceed to the next slide. There's just a slightly different view. Hope to just highlight the roads rather than everything going around here. A little bit of background to this site is that, again, the entirety of Wildcat Drive from Northwest Boulevard south to County Road 52, all is unbuilt. Many of you are probably already aware, but it should be noted there's some utility limitations here in that where this roadway, this north-south Wildcat Drive, might link up with Northwest Boulevard is currently occupied by Chick-fil-A. There's a Chick-fil-A that was recently constructed there. And the space between the Chick-fil-A property and the hospital immediately west of the Chick-fil-A, both of these properties being south of Northwest Boulevard, that space is not currently sufficient to allow for a C1 roadway to connect up through. So at present, it seems unlikely that there would be some future scenario where Wildcat Drive might have a Northwest Boulevard access to the north of the subject development. And then, of course, you may also note as well that the UTP does not call for this subject north-south roadway to continue south of County Road 52. So in all likelihood, we may expect that if it were to be constructed, this portion of Wildcat Drive would likely neither have access to the north or to the south beyond the unnamed road or south beyond County Road 52. Secondarily, I would also like to point out the nature of the development itself. You'll note that the development allows, again, for the passage of that unnamed roadway along the along the northern portions of that site connecting to the interstate. In communication with the developer, they have negotiated the siting of that intersection with TxDOT. And you'll also, if you migrate your eyes slightly south, you'll also note a second access point to the I-69 frontage. Those two, of course, have been negotiated with TxDOT already. And then lastly, you'll note that the site provides two north-south internal roadways that connect County Road 52 and, again, this unnamed east-west collector roadway. Could you proceed to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. I'd like to point out an error on this before I move on. The title. It should read Background Wildcat Drive Project. It does not. I apologize for that error. This provides just a bit more background data. The applicant, working with Munoz Engineering, is contracted to purchase the two tracks that the previous slide showed as our subject area, roughly 18, almost 19 acres. Those properties controlled by the Nimick Family Properties Ltd. The current UTP calls for the extension of Wildcat Drive from Northwest Boulevard to County Road 52, as I had already discussed. The construction of Wildcat Drive to the north of County Road 52 and south of the unnamed collector roadway is perceived to have a reduced value. Again, I've already touched on that, but I'm just going to go through a few more points. The change in land use of the subject development was from a residential to commercial per the future land use plan. And this may well reduce the utility of the subject collector at that roadway because it will no longer be collecting, if you will, similar land uses from either side. Instead, now you're going to have a clear break in terms of that land use pattern with the commercial entirely to the east of the subject roadway and single family residential, again, future land use ascribed to the west. I may further point out that part of the conversation within the planning department has been the impact to this portion of this Cal Allen area of Corpus Christi when the new steel plant is finished and employees start to come into the Sinton area, and that this commercial development, along with a number of other neighborhood improvements, may well likely make Cal Allen a more appealing home to future home buyers. Also, too, just like to point out, just in terms, not in terms of scale, but in terms of overall organization, the subject property is intended to treat the neighborhood roadways both in front, i.e. I-69, and both in back, in a way similar in manner, although smaller in scale, to the way that Moore Plaza and La Palmera treat their respective neighborhoods, focusing roadway access on the interstate and somewhat limiting access. Although in this case, I think we have a little bit different because there are a number of different access points behind the property to the west. The second smaller point, sub-point there, the subject roadway is assumed to provide connection to the northwest. Again, I touched on this, is expected to be hampered by those existing developments, i.e. the hospital and the Chick-fil-A property. What's more, this area, we believe, the planning department believes, is going to be augmented in terms of moving traffic from north to south. As you move a little further west of the subject property, there is an existing Riverside Drive that connects existing Northwest Boulevard to the, again, unnamed and unconstructed collector roadway, which runs east to west. That Riverside Drive is called for by the UTP to continue straight south to County Road 52. And so, Will, there, thank you very much. There, so you can see on the left-hand side of the map here, you can see that that C1 roadway of Riverside Boulevard will continue and provide a complete connection between Northwest Boulevard to the north and County Road 52 to the south, and will help to augment the deletion of the subject roadway. All right, and then lastly, if I can have the next slide, thank you. One more, sorry, one more backwards. There you, it's the one with all the background information, all of the text. There you go. Lastly, the subject property will provide access and connectivity through the internal driveway system. So if you could back up one slide, please. Perfect. So again, as I touched on already, but the all in all, what the development is asking to give in replacement, if you will, for the deleted UTP road segment are the two north-south internal roadways. These are going to be roadways, again, internal to the development and part of the development, i.e. not part of the city network and i.e. not part of the city maintenance system. And then lastly, on the back side of the development, there will be a road that is intended to be constructed in a very near location to where Wildcat Drive is prescribed. But that roadway is intended to act as a private drive. It will provide access to loading bays behind the future commercial buildings to be constructed, but also will be available to the public. You know, if someone wanted to cut through in that area, again, in a manner similar to anyone who's familiar with the way that Moore Plaza is facilitated in those areas behind, some of those areas behind PetSmart and Target and the rest. So if you would please go to the last slide. Staff recommends approval of this deletion, and we would await any questions.
Thank you. At this time, does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing for item 15. Are there any comments?
All right, we got one viewer on.
Staff, are we waiting for comments from the public?
The planning department at this point has not received any comments on this.
Thank you. At this time,
You're
I
welcome.
will close the public hearing portion of it and entertain a motion. Do I hear a motion for item 15?
Mr. Commissioner Miller, I move that we approve as per staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Michael York, I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. On to director's report.
This is Al Raymond. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Al Raymond, Director of Development Services, and Ina Nixon Mendez as something to share with the commission about our historical preservation plan.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Ina Nixon Mendez. Our community survey for our update to the historic preservation plan will be going live this Friday. It will be available on our historic preservation plan webpage, which is at www.cctexas.com/HPP. We will also have hard copies available at the department. The survey is provided in both English and in Spanish. We will have opportunities at all of our branch libraries for citizens to participate in the community survey. And so we certainly hope that you can participate in the survey and also share the survey with your peers and colleagues. We're really looking forward to receiving the feedback on the survey. It should just take we're thinking about 8 to 10 minutes for the survey. And we hope to obtain a lot of input from our community related to what our historic preservation plan goals and objectives should be in the future. The second item that we were going to report on is our monthly Development Services Task Force meeting, which will be this Friday at 9 a.m. and it's scheduled from 9 a.m. till 10:30. And again, this is virtual, but we do certainly invite all interested parties to participate in our monthly meeting. We have a lot of informative topics that are presented.
Great. Thank you very much. Anything else to report or to be scheduled?
Yes, sir. If we're, this is Andrew Demas, if we're kind of merging items 6 and 7, as far as items to be scheduled, we will need to have a special planning commission meeting. There was one plat that was inadvertently left off of this agenda, and we want to make sure that ball keeps rolling on that project. So we're thinking sometime on Monday to have a special meeting. Now, since there's only one plat, the meeting should be less than 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to be very quick, just to officially get that into the record and approved. So Cat will be sending out an invite by the end of the week to make sure that not only do we meet our 72-hour posting deadline, but also to make sure we'll have a quorum. So just please keep an eye out for that so we can make sure that plat gets approved timely.
Thank you. I sure will. Any other comments or questions for Planning Commission? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. You have a nice evening.
You too.
Yes, agree.